Okay. Everybody take their seats. Hey, good morning from the Creek Fire, South Zone. It's Saturday, October 3rd. This is the 0700 operations briefing. Important announcement. For all the crews out there at China or Sierra, if you do have an emergency in the field, I want you to go to Channel 6, contact Sierra National Forest, go to Tone 5, then contact the South unit, and then voice your emergency, and that's only for the duration of this meeting. After that, go back to your normal tone. Okay, I'm Rick Luke, Planning Section Chief, California Expanse Team 5, and we are streaming live here from the Veterans Memorial Building in Clovis, our ICP. We're streaming to China Camp and also the Sierra Camp. So if you're out there, you should be standing on an orange dot practicing the COVID-19 guidelines that we have in place. Okay, we're going to go with the situation update with Don.
All right, good morning, everybody. Don Fagulia, planning ops on this incident here with your night shift briefing, or operational update, rather. So at the zone break here, we'll start quiet night all through the bottom southern end of this fire. Maybe a call or two for service, but no major things to report there. It remains quiet and static, and we can continue to pull hose today. Moving up into Division Sierra, Division Romeo, quiet night in there as well. Didn't have much activity at all to report, and nothing going on in there. Moving up north into the Huntington Lake area in Division Papa, again a quiet night. They did not get forced here on the 05 road. Fire continues to back down the hill towards that 05 road. Kaiser Pass Road was quiet last night. Moving up into Mono Hot Springs, that fire did get close enough there last night that we had to initiate some defensive firing around Mono Hot Springs Resort. Everything's good. It all stands in there. Night shift had a good, successful night, so good progress there. We continue to prep the Kaiser Pass Road out to the north towards Edison Lake and the dam up there, and ready to receive. This fire was active throughout the night, and we expect another active day today. And with that, have a good, safe shift.
Thank you, Don. Weather.
Good morning, incident meteorologist Mark Pellerito. So, yeah, hot, dry, terrain-driven winds. Have been saying that day after day, but I got to stress to you that the moisture overnight, humidity recoveries are as bad as I've seen them. We have a couple sensors, one at 5,000 and the other at 7,500, both indicating 9% already. And so you can fully expect that right at the get-go, the RH is going to be in the teens to single digits, and it's going to dip even just a little bit more down to 5 or 6% for a couple of the ridge tops there by late morning, and that'll persist into the afternoon until very, very minor recoveries in the evening. And unfortunately, the next couple nights look very similar, just so you know on that. And don't be fooled if you're, like China Camp right now. It's you're cold, the RH is a little higher, but you get just right off that valley floor, and it is thermal belt, very thick thermal belt this morning. Also, the inversion, which continues to strengthen, will not get as high as it did yesterday, and even yesterday it wasn't that high, expecting around 5,500 feet maximum for that inversion. That means even more of the slopes and ridges are going to be exposed to freely mixing air, very dry air, above that level. Below that level, there's tons of smoke right now throughout the Central Valley, and the upslope, up canyon winds will drink that smoke right up, and so our fire plus other fires are going to keep the smoke really hard to mix out underneath. But up above, you'll still have that free mixing clean air. Temperatures again, lower 90s for the lowest elevations where you're pulling hose, and then otherwise the rest of the fire 80s and 70s. And we're going to be taking the edge off the heat just a little bit in coming days, but don't look too far ahead, because the RH is still going to be very low, very poor recoveries the next couple of nights as well. So that's it for fire weather. You may have some gusts around 15 miles per hour in the higher elevations today. Otherwise, again, single digits for the speeds.
Thank you, Mark. Fire behavior.
Good morning, Jeff Shelton, Team 5, Fire Behavior. So you heard from the IMET, welcome to August and October. what we have are two distinct fire environments, but both of them are very dry. You have below the inversion and above the inversion. One is has very little ventilation, very little air moving. The one above it has a lot of air moving. This fire is a fuels-driven but ventilation-dependent fire, meaning below that inversion, things will still burn, but above them, it's going to be very active. With pigs up to 90%, you can expect everything that can burn will burn. Just go out there with that expectation that everything around you that you see is going to be able to carry fire with RHs starting out at 9%. There's three main things that I want you to identify when you get out there and plan for. Don't just identify them, check the box, and walk on. Identify them and plan for. Any change in slope. We saw that yesterday when the backing fire that was moving towards the river, it didn't have to make a big slope reversal. It just gently kind of flattened out a little bit. That was enough for that backing fire, which had been kind of civilized, became pretty rowdy and just marched across the landscape. And that was just over flat ground. It wasn't even a big slope reversal that came back up. The other thing to watch for is fuel continuity. With a pig of 90, every time that you see your fuel start to stack up, whether they're stacking up horizontally or they're stacking up vertically, you got to identify that and plan for it, that if fire gets to there, where is it going? And then the last thing for the fuels part to really plan for is crown spacing. You've got to look, when you got single digits, you got to look for the places where the crowns start stacking up, because if it climbs into a tree, and we had isolated torching, that's where you start group torching, which you start crown fire. When you have that unstable air above the 5,500, 6,000 foot layer, you know, when you have crown fire, we have a really good chance of a column development and then plume-dominated fire. So my expectations based on the weather, that below the inversion, we're going to have anywhere there's established heat, we're going to have a low to moderate intensity surface fire that's going to find an isolated crown and move up into it, but that vertical motion is suppressed. Above that level today, with the sun out and freely mixing air, I'm looking at a moderate to intense surface fire in places that have established heat. Papa here, where they're working it coming down, and especially out in November going towards Mono Springs, a moderate to intense surface fire. And if it gets into the crowns and that column stands up, it's going to go from a column to a plume rather quickly. So I really want you to stress that when you get a plume with 90% pig and everything that can burn that will burn, if you see that stand up, you have to already have a pre-identified plan of where you're going and what you're going to do if that happens. Because it won't be time to gather up and figure out from fire behavior what your fire behavior in that area, what to do. You're going to have to already have that plan in place, especially in these upper reaches of the fire. If you have any questions, get them to me. If you're seeing something different, please get it to me. Thank you. Have a safe shift.
Thank you, Jeff. Operational assignments.
Okay, good morning. John Goss, Planning Ops trainee. So we'll start with roll call. For field operations today, Alex McBath. With the trainee, Shannon Prather. Night operations, Steve Burns. For planning ops there, we've got Don Fraguglia, Chris Stevens up at China, and myself as a trainee. Branch 20 today, we have Ernie Villa. Division November, Victor Lafleur. Division Papa, we've got Hidalgo with the trainee of DeHart. Division Romeo, Olson. And Division Night, November Papa Romeo, we have Knox. Moving down the hill to 25, branch 25 and 29, we got Bone Trager. Sierra Union, Bianchi. Victor Whiskey, Stevens. X-Ray Zulu, Fernandez. And Suppression Repair, Clint Wade and Borello. Okay, work assignments today. We'll start up in branch 20, division November. As you heard, a little bit of cleanup around a little bit of work to do still around Mono Hot Springs Resort there to finish the backfire operation around Mono Hot Springs. The rest of the division will be out moving up towards Vermilion Valley Resort and Edison there to finish up the prep work to prepare for any kind of firing operations this evening as conditions allow. Moving back west there along Kaiser Pass Road, November is still holding that road, making sure anything doesn't get across to the east of the Kaiser Pass Road. Bumping into Division Papa. Still have some work out in the Stump Springs Road area there. They're finishing up the final touches of the preparation for that road system as well. And as conditions allow, potentially there could be some firing operations this evening out in Division Papa. Moving downhill a little bit in Division Papa there, the work that's been going along the Huntington Lake, above Huntington Lake, they will continue to hold that line that goes into the Kaiser Wilderness, as well as maintain a presence, a tactical patrol in the Huntington Lake area. Knowing that there will be the re-entry today in Huntington Lake there, we will have some resources up in the Huntington Lake area because we're expecting some more service calls in that area today. So there will be a presence up there. We'll be able to answer those service calls. Division Romeo, same thing. A little bit, a lot of that's red here showing, so we'll have crews in there focusing on those last isolated hot spots there to keep holding that line in Division Romeo. Moving down to branch 25 and 29, the Sierra Union division there, we've focused our efforts in Sierra Union there, so a lot of the resources that were in the lower portion of branch 25 and 29 have been moved up to Sierra Union there, so they will continue to hold, mop up any last isolated unburned islands inside and outside the line there. Continuing on with Victor Whiskey and on down into San Joaquin River there. Same thing there. So they're in mop-up patrol, still rolling up hose, still refurbishing there. So we will have resources down lower on the mountain as well. And then suppression repair. The work continues around the Shaver Lake, south of Shaver, out in Blue Canyon, Peterson Mill area, as well as the work up on the Stump Springs Road to keep that road open. As far as priorities for today, everything's focused out in Division November, whether it's resources and aviation. November is definitely the priority today. To make sure that we're keeping those values at risk intact. Second priority will be over in Division Papa, finishing up any last-minute work there, and then any aviation needs there will be focused on Papa as well. And then third priority then, again, is to Division Romeo and the SU division break there with those last remaining isolated heat spots there. Have a good shift.
Thank you. Air operations.
Good morning, Air Operations. John Kazee with Team 5. Just go ahead, take a look at your 220, review the frequencies. Air Attack will be up and or Helco. So if you have any aircraft needs, try Air Attack first. If he's not up, go to Helco. If they're not up, just go direct to the helibase. Thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you, John. Safety.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Brian Savage, Team 5 Safety. So Huntington Lake's getting repopulated starting this morning, and that's going to be a lot more people up there this weekend. So expect a lot more traffic on 168. Expect people to be driving a little fast and not paying attention to what they're doing and stopping on the road anywhere to look. The logging is still going on this weekend, so there's a lot of trucks moving up and down south of Shaver Lake, so expect that. CHP's going to have a bigger presence out there, so even for fire personnel and contract workers, you'll get a ticket also. NOMEX won't help you. You will get a ticket if you're speeding or driving unsafe. One thing I want to mention about power lines, this footprint took out a lot of acreage, and there's a lot of poles and lines that dropped. The power companies have a lot of people out there working on mitigating all that, but they haven't got to everything. So you'll still come across, and there's still lines on the ground out in this fire footprint. You have to assume they're all live. Even though the power companies have de-energized those areas that have those lines, you can get back feed from people running solar power or generators inside this footprint. So you have to assume everything's live because there's a scenario out there they're getting backfed by civilian equipment, and that's a bad thing. So if you see some lines on the ground, mark them, notify people. But the power company's working their best to get them all cleared, but they're not all off the ground yet. The last thing, Edison's going to re-energize Big Creek area today, 9 o'clock, and we'll put something out on a command to remind everybody. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Brian. Communications.
Communications, Ken Earl. Just remember today's day 2 of the clone with a new program. If you're up in the upper areas of November, make sure that you try the new repeater. It's on Channel 5. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Medical.
Morning, everybody. Jeff Carlin, Medical. You guys are doing a really good job out there. Really appreciate it. But you heard from IMAT today, weather and fire behavior is going to be a good one. So make sure you guys got those trigger points in place. Also, to help with that, we now have Frontline Medical up at China Peak, and we'll be moving our medic from China Peak out to the Spike Camp. If you'll notice on the 206, we've added a couple things at the bottom. During briefings, as you heard in the beginning, if you have a medical emergency, because we're using the command channel, we need you to contact South Creek Communications on SNF T5 on Channel 6 on your clone. Also, for the Spike Camp and the 2 base camps, for any medical emergency at those camps, South Creek Communication has a hard line down there at the bottom, so you utilize that and we'll get you what you need. Furthermore, thank you very much for doing the COVID precautions. We really appreciate it out there at the camps. And then also, just for your awareness, when you come to ICP, we got a temperature check and a sign-in right there, so I appreciate your support in that. With that, be safe. I'll see you tonight.
Thank you, Jeff. Finance.
Good morning, Teresa Fork, Finance Section Chief. So I just want to let you guys know that on page 28 in the IAP is some directions on completing your time and getting them sent in. Also, a reminder to the operations and division soups is that we still need you to check in with cost apportionment. Their number is in the IAP on page 28 also. Thanks.
Thank you, Teresa. NRIC, closing comments.
Good morning. Today and tomorrow are going to be some pretty significant days in the chronology of this event. We're going to be looking at lifting the bulk of the evacuations by tomorrow night and completing most of the repopulation. And that's clearly a testament to the work you guys have been doing out there. Today is going to be an interesting day as they open Huntington Lake for people to get in there and check their cabins and pull those boats. We're going to see a huge influx of people in and around those roads. You combine that with the fire potential that the F-band talked about with those low RHs and available fuel. If you have to move around on that fire today, make sure you're planning accordingly. There's going to be a lot of traffic. And then last night we did have another public meeting, and though overall the numbers are down, there's still a tremendous amount of outpouring of appreciation and support for the work you're doing out there. So keep up the good work, be safe today, and have fun. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Okay, unassigned resources, go to your respective breakouts there in Sierra and China Camp. Next operational briefing is 0700 here. And then cooperators meeting here at 1000 hours, and next planning meeting today at 1700 hours. Have a safe shift. Thank you.